Hello, underachievers.
Okay, first off, real quick, sorry but not sorry, I have a brand new song called 3 Day Headache. If you like pop punk, you'll love it. And I also have an album coming out March 8th, and you can grab a vinyl for that. And I'm touring the world, baby. I'm playing UK shows with Enter Shikari in February and doing a headline tour of the US in March and April, so grab your tickets!
So, I've been out as trans since 2017.
Hi.
And I've been making content about it ever since I came out as trans in 2017. So you can imagine, I have probably heard everything. I've seen everything. I've been asked every single invasive question from internet weirdos, but also well-meaning friends and family. And look, I completely get it. I understand that being trans to people that aren't trans is kind of interesting. It's not a normal life experience. Most people aren't trans. And I get the questions. I understand the intrigue. I'm not gonna be one of those people that are just like, I can't believe you just asked that question, because I get it. It's interesting. Being trans is not a typical life experience. Something that I've noticed recently is that despite, you know, the oncoming anti-trans hate brigade that is only getting worse, there is a positive. I feel like the general population, at least on average, knows more about trans people than they did 5-10 years ago, so they're more likely to not screw up in ways that they may have. But I also noticed that because a lot of people have a lot more awareness, they also have a lot more questions, and there's a lot more fear surrounding those questions, and I also get that. The type of people that I'm talking about, which by the way might be you, they want to know more about trans stuff so they can be more supportive, and so they know what to say, you know, when they're in a fist fight with transphobes. Give J.K. Rowling a little bonk on the head. They want to ask the questions so that they can be more supportive, because if you have more knowledge, power, allied power, that's what this is. But they're worried about upsetting us, because obviously it's a kind of sensitive topic when the entire world seems to kind of hate you and your community. I understand people being sensitive when they're asked intrusive questions, by the way. I'm not here to say that it's weird to be upset by it. But I am very rarely upset by these kind of questions, so I thought, why not just answer them? Just why not? So today I thought I would answer trans questions that cis people are too afraid to ask. I have done a few videos like this before, but I didn't get the questions anonymously. This time I did get the questions anonymously, so people are less scared of getting in trouble, I guess. So, first question. What was it like detaching yourself from your dead name and letting Noah become part of your internal identity? So, I came out to everybody in my life in 2017, but in 2015, I came out to my friends on the internet, my online friends who are now my besties, and I came out to my mom and my dad and my brother, so they knew. But between 2015 and 2017, I was using my dead name while also thinking of myself as Noah and having people on the internet refer to me as Noah. So I had those 2 years that were kind of like purgatory, where I knew where I was going, but the rest of the world didn't. But when it finally came to it in 2017, when I came out to everybody, I did a Facebook post. By that time, my family knew. My parents had told them because I was too scared. What I'll say right off the bat is that it was really weird. It was really weird having everybody in my life calling me Noah, and I honestly think it's because I kept that name and that part of myself a secret for so long. So for me, there was a level of anxiety that came with people calling me Noah, which I know some people would think about and be like, oh, maybe that means you've made the wrong decision, maybe you're not Noah. Absolutely not. I was just so afraid of people finding that name, so afraid of people finding out that I was trans, that like, that name just, it kind of triggered me, to be honest. If triggered, you know what I mean. I had a lot of guilt coming out, and I don't think I was fair to myself at all, but I felt really bad that I expected everybody in my life to kind of just ignore the past 18 years of my life and see me as somebody that they never knew me as. So as well as the name Noah being scary to hear out loud, because I thought if somebody called me Noah, then they'd found out my secret internet trans thing. But I also felt like, ugh, I'm sorry, I'm making you call me Noah and not my old name. Detaching from my dead name was very easy. I had detached from that name for the longest time. I was 5 years old telling kids on the playground that my name was Alex and I was a boy. So I don't think my name ever really felt like my name. So in terms of like letting it go, that wasn't hard. It wasn't really emotional. The only emotional attachment that I had to it was the fact that like my parents named me that. And in the house that I grew up in, there are lines on the door for every time I grew with my dead name on it. I have like birthday cards and Christmas cards from dead relatives that have written my dead name on it. And I wouldn't say I was like mourning the dead name, because I wanted rid of it for years and years before I actually got rid of it. But it is like a weird thing, because I feel like when people started calling me Noah, I was the exact same person, except I was more comfortable and confident and happy. It's not a normal experience, and it takes a long time to get used to all those changes. But yeah, letting Noah become part of my personal identity was never really difficult. It was more just like, oh, sick. I like this name. I'm not upset when people call me this name. It doesn't feel weird. It feels like it suits me. Do you get annoyed / sad when people talk about your lack of beard? Good question. I've been on testosterone for over 5 years, and you will see on the internet there are loads of trans guys that will start growing facial hair like 3 months in. they'll have a whole beard by 1 year on testosterone. Which, by the way, that's very uncommon. That's not a common experience. And I know a lot of people have a lot of questions for me as to why I don't have a beard. Yes, it is annoying being asked why my body isn't doing something that strangers on the internet think it should be doing. I think that's just a weird concept, full stop. Like, I don't know, my guy. Like, my body is just the way my body is. What people really need to realize about trans people and transitioning and just hormone replacement therapy in general is that we're just going through puberty like every single other person on the planet. Taking testosterone doesn't mean that you'll suddenly get massive and muscly, have facial hair everywhere, get back hair, have the world's deepest voice. HRT puberty treats trans people the same way that puberty treats everybody. You don't know what you're gonna end up looking like. And the reason that I don't have a beard at the age of 24 is down to genetics. My dad couldn't grow a beard until late into his 20s, maybe his 30s. My brother couldn't really do it until past his mid-30s. So like, yeah, it is annoying. I don't get sad when people ask that, it's just annoying. In the same way that like you wouldn't just go up to any random 24-year-old guy and be like, why don't you have a beard? It's essentially the same thing. Like, I don't know. I just don't. Why do you think most people don't get bottom surgery? Is it the recovery and results? Question mark. There are a lot of reasons why the majority of trans people don't get bottom surgery. One reason is that it can be very expensive. I mean, in the UK we have free healthcare, but even though we have free healthcare, the second reason is that the wait lists are very long. There's not a lot of doctors specializing in trans healthcare. 3, some people just don't want to have surgeries that they don't feel like they need to have. Like, I have bottom dysphoria. I am dysphoric about what's down there, but over the years, I've come to the term with the fact that, like, I'm just a dude without that's fine. I don't care that much anymore, although sometimes it does really annoy me, it does bother me, but at the same time, I would rather just stick with what I have than go through very long and very intense surgeries and recovery time. As with any surgery, there are risks of complications, which, like, I don't want to have complications down there. I don't want to have complications down there if I don't need to. Also, just talking about from female to male surgeries, if you want to pee standing up, that means they need to lengthen your urethra, which is what causes a lot of complications. But that is putting your body through a lot. That is putting your body through a lot. And with bottom surgery for guys, there are multiple stages. You don't just have one and done. You're talking about years of surgeries, and if you have to pay for it, it's hundreds of thousands. It's a lot of money. Another reason is that, yeah, like, some people don't like the results that they've seen online. They don't think that they would be happy with those results, and they don't want to risk the complication for a result that they're not entirely happy with, which makes sense. What I will say is that there is a lot of misinformation going around about bottom surgery. For one, a lot of transphobes think it's smart to post very recently operated pictures on the internet and be like, this is what you'll have. If you get bottom surgery, this is what you'll have. Here's a wound, which is just the equivalent of me posting myself 1 week post-op top surgery and being like, oh yeah, there's bruises. My nipples aren't healed. Yeah, that doesn't look like I want to live the rest of my life like that. I know plenty of people that are so happy with their bottom surgery results. I know people who, you know, bottom surgery has changed their life for the better. They feel complete. They feel whole. I love that for them. I just don't want that myself. Wait, no, that makes it sound like I don't want to feel complete and whole. It's more just that what I have now works, and I don't want to put my body through surgeries that I don't feel like I need to have. Also, yeah, the misinformation surrounding results really pisses me off, because, like, there are very good results out there. You can Google them, you can find them. So if bottom surgery is something that you're interested in, and you've just seen, you know, results that aren't fully healed, that aren't fully finished, and that's put you off it, just do research. Just do a little research. There will be pictures out there that you can see that, you know, you'll be like, oh, I did not even realize that wasn't a cis person. Do you believe that only trans people should be able to bind their chests? I've seen loads of people that do. If I saw this when I was a teenager, I would have been like, yeah, start taking our resources. But my answer to this question is, like, anybody can wear anything. I thought our whole thing was that, you know, gender roles, gender expression doesn't necessarily equate to your actual gender. Like, I'm wearing a crop top right now. Does that make me not a guy? I don't think so. As much as people don't want to say it, the fact that non-binary people exist is just proof that gender is a spectrum. There are absolutely cis people out there that would rather have flatter chests that don't identify as trans or non-binary. But again, that's just a label. There could be two people with the exact same experience and feelings. One could call themselves cis, one could call themselves non-binary. I think it's dumb to gatekeep an item of clothing. Yeah. Next question. Does going on T affect your sex drive? Yes, I was painfully horny for a very long time. So much so that I would embarrass myself. I would just tweet every single thought that I had. Yeah, it was bad. Again, everybody's experience is different, but yes. Obviously, yes. Opinion on cis people doing trans debates, as in, should cis people, you know, speak for trans people? I think it depends entirely on the context. I'm not gonna flat out say that, like, cis people should not do debates for trans people. I think if there's an instance where a cis person is taking away space from a trans person on a debate about trans things, then that's bad. But I think that cis people should be able to debate for trans people because, you know, transphobes are more likely to listen to them, I will say. As sad as it is, as sad as it is, I have definitely been really irritated seeing people online that are cis using trans issues purely just to grow their following. It irritates me because I can tell that's why they're doing it. So I think if you're doing it for the right reason is to, you know, just help trans people, support them. That's great. Yeah, do it to support trans people, but definitely don't use it as like a fun activity. It's not a fun activity to be debated upon. Do you find it offensive or off-putting if a guy has a preference of trans guys, like they only date or seek out trans guys to date? Yeah, this is an interesting one. To answer your question, yeah, I know people can't help the preferences they have. I don't ever want to be with anybody that finds the idea of me being trans like arousing. It's obviously a different thing if they're trans as well, and that's just something that they feel more comfortable with. But yeah, even if there was a person like that that existed that didn't fetishize trans people, I would struggle to not be paranoid about that. Because to me, being trans is something that I struggle with. I know a lot of people don't feel like that. That's cool. They don't feel like that. I absolutely feel like that. Being trans to me is not like a gift. Like, I don't like the euphoria thing. Like, that's never a framing that I've felt myself. So for that to be a bonus for somebody would just feel, you know, like, I don't know. It just gives me the ick, but I also know a lot of trans people that would prefer to be with people like that. So I don't know. Personally, no. Stay away. How long until T started having really noticeable effects? Really noticeable, maybe a month or two, but I did wake up the day after my first shot, like, feeling a little, how do you say, tingling down there, because bottom growth is something that happens very quickly on testosterone. I say a month or two, I mean really noticeable for me personally, maybe not for other people, but I was very noticeably, to myself, oilier, greasier, smellier. My piss smelled different the day after I started testosterone. But yeah, the voice drop comes at differing times for different people. Mine was like 2-3 months was where it was noticeable. How do trans females get successfully rid of facial hair? Not the right person to ask, sorry. It is a forever my burning question. As a cis female, this is a lifelong battle. Laser hair removal. Yeah. So this is the kind of question that I was expecting. Do you prefer it in the ass or the front? What I said earlier when we talked about the bottom surgery question is that, like, what I have currently works. It functions great. No issues, never had issues. Again, different trans people will feel different. I know trans people that only do it in the behind the butt. That is not for me. That's not for me. That is for me for pooing. That is where I and absolutely no judgment to people who do use that hole. Obviously, most gay men will use that hole. The other one, it's easier. It feels better. It doesn't take any prep. I've tried it. It's not for me. Why do we have micro-labels if gender is a spectrum and there's, in theory, infinite ways to express yourself and thus potentially infinite possible labels? Good question. This is interesting. The answer is just because people want to use micro-labels, so they do. Like, I completely understand you. Like, why would you choose that very specific label if there's, like, millions of labels that you could choose from? They all overlap and are so similar that what's the point? I don't know. Like, from a personal experience, I don't know. I'm just a binary guy. Like, I don't feel any part non-binary. When I was younger, I thought I was non-binary. Looking back, I was kind of kidding myself into thinking I was non-binary because I didn't want to accept that I was a man, because being a man came with having to change my name and having to go through surgery, and, you know, it was scary to me. I think it's just down to what makes people comfortable, what makes them happy, and what they think is a good way to communicate how they feel to the people around them. Do you ever feel like you aren't trans enough compared to other trans people? Yes and no. I think I'm different, as in, when I first heard about being trans and I saw trans people, I felt so much more trans than any of them that I got angry. I was like, they're not trans, I'm trans. But I'm not trans, but they're trans, but no, they're not because I am, but I'm not. Like, I cannot tell you the feelings I had watching my first Alex Bertie video being like, oh, this guy's really cool. Like, I can't believe he's doing what I want to do. But I deserve it more, even though I know that's not true. I had a lot of feelings. I felt more trans compared to other trans people. But then again, yeah, I did feel less trans because, you know, I was too scared to come out for a very long time. I spent years knowing I was trans, not telling anybody. I felt less trans because I didn't immediately start hormones or surgery as soon as I came out, because I couldn't. Like, I just couldn't do that. But this is a very common experience for trans people, especially, there's a lot of gatekeeping in the trans community, which I was definitely a part of as a very angry teenager. And when there's gatekeeping from inside the community and also people from outside of the community trying to tell trans people what they should be, it's obvious that, you know, people are gonna feel less trans or not trans enough. Do you think trans kids watching your videos would feel happy to see where you're at, or just be reminded that they're not there yet and thus feel sad watching your videos? Yes. To both of those, because I was both of those. As I literally just said, I would watch trans people online or in the media and just get so angry and upset that I wasn't in their exact position. And I know there's probably a lot of people watching this that are trans themselves that are just like, that guy for being on testosterone and top surgery having... Just want to say, I was exactly where you are. It sucks. So, like, go ahead. hate me for that. Don't. But what I was saying is I understand how you feel. But yeah, I have had plenty of comments from trans kids saying like, I love you, Noah. I'm sorry, but I just can't watch your videos right now because it just makes me so jealous and sad. Could you describe the feeling of feeling like you're trans? For me, it was all dysphoria. For other people, it's less clear, less obvious, and way more confusing for them to figure out, because my level of dysphoria was so intense that I knew from the age of 4 or 5 that there was something up with me. Like, I was making packers out of Play-Doh. I know I tell a story all the time, but I would make little dinkies out of Play-Doh and put them in my pants and be like, ah, that's what was missing. So for me, realizing what feeling trans felt like, it was just that I felt so uncomfortable. I just had a lot of discomfort. I hated every feminine aspect of my body. And I guess the confusing part was there was no, like, cause. Like, I hadn't been through anything specifically that would make me feel that way, so I was just angry that I felt that way. But yeah, intense dysphoria. To explain what dysphoria feels like, it's like, you know how guilt feels in your stomach, where it just makes you feel so uncomfortable? Just you feel guilty because you did something bad, and you feel sorry for it, but you've already done it, and now you can't do anything to rectify it. That's physically how it felt for me. Like, dysphoria felt like guilt and just discomfort all tumbled up into one, and it was constant. It was never ending. There weren't really days where I felt better than others. Like, I had days where I felt, I guess, less bad because I wasn't feeling it so intensely, but there were never days where it left. It was just always there. It was just like this underlying buzzing noise. Like, imagine there's just like a buzzing noise, and it gets louder and louder the more you're aware of it. That's what dysphoria felt like. How do you feel about cis people who continue to support transphobic celebrities despite their bigotry? Is that an immediate deal breaker for you, e.g. someone still largely obsesses over Harry Potter? Good question. Very, very hot topic right now currently. You should listen to my new song, Scumbag, and watch the music video as well. My feelings toward this kind of thing is that, like, if you buy Harry Potter books, if you buy Harry Potter games, if you go to the Harry Potter shows, you are supporting a big fat turf. You are giving her money. I would always say don't do that. Find alternatives. Buy secondhand books. If somebody you know has bought the game, wait for them to finish it and then have it off them. When you say is it a deal breaker, like I have like members of my family and like friends that aren't within the community that do enjoy the Harry Potter books. If you say it's a deal breaker, it makes it sound like I'm gonna cut those people off. I'm not. Like, I've had conversations with those people, and I'm just like, look, do what you want. I disagree with it. I'm not gonna, like, block you out of my life for playing the Harry Potter game. I would always discourage it. I would always encourage other ways to, you know, get that Harry Potter itch scratched. My problem with it comes when people are trying to argue that they're not directly supporting J.K. Rowling, or, you know, if you're buying another transphobic book or movie or any of that kind of stuff. I just have a problem if you're trying to deny that you're doing that. Like, if you're completely aware, like, yeah, like, I'm aware that some of this money is going to J.K. Rowling. I don't like that, I don't enjoy that, but, you know, I'm just gonna buy it anyway. I kind of respect that more than people that try and argue and fight and get angry. That's just how I feel. Although, I do think that, like, you are very much open to criticism if you're doing that kind of thing. Like, you don't keep doing that, but if you keep doing that, people are gonna be upset, and you're gonna have to deal with that, and that's not my problem. Why do some trans people get so upset / mad when you accidentally dead name them? The short answer is just dysphoria. For me, when I first transitioned, even hearing my dead name would make me feel on edge. It would make me feel uncomfortable because it would just remind me of a time before I was out where I just had to hide all these uncomfortable feelings, and I just had to be really, really, really upset with my life and how I felt. It triggers dysphoria is the easiest way to put it. Why do some people have big reactions to that? It's because they cannot handle those feelings, which, if you have ever felt those feelings, you can probably empathize with and understand. I think what more cis people need to realize is that we understand when it's an accident. We also know when it's not an accident. But when it's an accident, we get it. I screw up on my friends' pronouns sometimes. I screwed up on dead names before people came out. It's a natural human thing to forget things or to slip up. But just because it's an accident doesn't make it any less hurtful. It's really not the exact same thing at all. But, like, imagine you had a nickname that people used to call you that you just really hated, and people would bully you with it. You would just have this association with that name that just, you didn't want to hear it anymore. You didn't want to think about it. So when somebody calls you that, even if it is by accident, you still have those feelings. When you get bottom surgery, can you choose how long your is? Like, can it be a foot long? Love this question. The answer is no, not really. When you get bottom surgery as a trans guy, they use a skin graft from your own body. So say you didn't have a they would take either skin from your arm or from your leg, sometimes from your abdomen, and they would make that into your ding dong. There are limitations to how big it can be because, you know, the longer it is, the longer they have to stretch your urethra if you want to pee through it. The longer it is, the more space there is for things to go wrong. Usually, the average of a phalloplasty, which is the kind of surgery that you're talking about, is 5 inches, which is pretty average, but no, you cannot really walk around with a long hog. But what I will say is that if you get the skin graft from your thigh, which is kind of one of the popular ways to do it, it will be thicker because the skin there is thicker. There's like more tissue there that's thicker. But no, unfortunately, you cannot choose the precise measurements. You can ask for smaller, but I feel like most people wouldn't be doing that. Does having sex make you dysphoric? Is your name legally Noah? I get this question a lot. So I feel like that's a good place to stop. There are so many more questions that I will answer, just not in this week's video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, comment in the comment box. Have a good day, don't see you later, losers. Goodbye. Come see a show and pre-save my album, I beg. Or grab a vinyl, because they are very pretty. And they are selling as well.